Hi everyone. So welcome to this webinar co-hosted by Mobius Labs and ANP. So today it's our pleasure to sort of discuss how we are successfully collaborating with ANP and taking computer vision to the next level and looking at new business models, especially in the sector of press and journalism. So how we can start is that we will just introduce both our companies. So let me just ask Patrick to mention about ANP and explain what ANP does.
Sure. ANP is the de facto Dutch national press agency. We were founded in the 1930s by large media companies in the Netherlands. We are still by far the largest press agency in our country. Headquarters in The Hague in the Netherlands. We provide a few main services like a wire service, but we are also by far the largest photo agency in the Netherlands, and we produce a large number of wholly owned images. And 2 years ago, we bought our main competitor called Hollandse Hoogte, and now we have a very large image library, which is one of the reasons we approach Mobius, but we will get to that later.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Patrick. And a little bit about Mobius Labs. So we are a company based here in Berlin. We were formed 2018 with some of the prominent computer vision scientists around. And what we do is we build AI tools that is changing the way how organization works with visual content, especially images and videos. So in a nutshell, we deliver very fast, accurate, and automated metadata enrichment. And that eliminates the pain point that an organization faces when they have to deal with large backlogs of visuals. Because currently we live in a world which is an overload of visuals, because as humanity, every year, number of visuals that we produce is more than twice what was produced last year. So trillions of contents are being produced. So to manage backlog is a huge pain point we is currently facing. So we are building technology to sort of ease in that particular load. And one of our sort of USPs of our technology, it's very configurable. So we work with businesses, and the businesses can work with our technology, configure it to their own use cases to analyze their content with market leading quality, precision, and speed. Maybe I will sort of ask Patrick to also talk a bit about ANP, because ANP is a very great business for us to partner with, because it's a business built on images with large archives. Maybe Patrick, can you say a couple of words about the archive that you have?
Sure. As I said in the beginning, we merged with our largest competitor in the Netherlands about 2 years ago. This resulted in an image archive of close to 100 million images. We also represent all major international press agencies like Agence France-Presse, Reuters, Associated Press, European Press Agency, Belga, Deutsche Presseagentur. So it's almost 100 million images with 50,000 new images every day, with several thousand images produced in the Netherlands. And this is a challenge for us and for our clients to find the right image. And this is why we started to look for solutions, because it used to be that we could just hire keyworders or editors or more staff, but with this amount of images, this was impossible. And well, this is how we ended up at Mobius, and I think we can expand on this later on how you can help and why Mobius is the right solution for us.
Thanks a lot, Patrick. Yeah, I think let me sort of, this is one of the quotes that you made, so let me read that out aloud. So Until recently, we had one person working full time, tagging photographs as they entered the system. Oops, sorry. Other editorial staffs and photographers also contribute. Even so, given the sheer volume of images, there was typically a lag of anything between 24 and 72 hours as they attempt to keep up. Because again, as Patrick mentioned in the previous slide, we are living in this world where the volume is getting unmanageable and we need tools. And one of the best ways to search for tools is in this realm of AI. How can AI come and help such a process? And we're going to discuss that in the next few minutes. And in terms of solution requirements, when ANP came to us, there are a few things that was must have. One is the accuracy of the keywords itself, ANP needed facial recognition and also a very good, solid industry experience to do that. So let's maybe go one at a time at this moment. Maybe Patrick, can you talk a bit about why there is a need for accuracy for keywords?
Well, there is an accuracy for keywords. I think the slide you present right now says it very well. If you have too few keywords, you will not find the image. If you have too many keywords, you will find images that are not relevant to what you're looking for, and especially if you have 100 million images, the right image, which I'm sure we will have for our clients, will drown in many pages of images, and you will not be able to find the one you are looking for. Another one is we are a news agency, so what you look for, the moment you search for an image, you search through all metadata, which is usually an editorial text. You know, it describes what is happening on the image. It may be a politician in a campaign, and he refers to a political opponent, and you type in the name of that opponent, and you find the image, but this specific person that is on the image is not actually on the image. And this happens quite a lot. You have hospitals named after a queen, and you find you find a picture of the hospital when you search for the queen. This is a problem. Because you will quite simply not find the image you're looking for. Another one is we sell images in what we call a secondary market. So we have so we shoot images, and then maybe 2 years later, we sell the image again to a magazine who has an article about crime, and they find a good image to illustrate that story, but try to find a good image that illustrates a story about crime or about healthcare. It's very hard to do if you only search for images with an editorial description. And this is where good keywording comes in. And it's not just adding the keyword hospital or police to an image. It's the first one, you know, it's the first one you say in your slide. It's keyword accuracy. It's trying to find out what is actually happening on the image. And a person can do that. You know, if you have a fully trained editorial staff, they know what's happening on the image. They can identify an image of a scary alley in the middle of Amsterdam as crime. But if you have that many images, it's impossible to do. And I think with Mobius, we have a solution, artificial intelligence, that can actually not only recognize the person on the image, therefore improving the search results, but also is able to truly understand what is happening on the image, analyze emotion on an image, and this greatly adds value to us and to our customers.
Thanks a lot, Patrick. And maybe let's go in. We'll be talking a bit more on the particular use case on facial recognition in the next couple of slides. So we will take it from there. And we are very pleased that ANP chose us to work to implement a solution using our technology. So that's thank you for that. So yeah, so there is one particular slide very pertinent to what Patrick just mentioned, because accuracy is really, really key when you implement AI solutions. Because one of the main downstream applications that a solution like image automatic tagging is used in search and in recommendation. And if the tags are wrong, your search results will be also suffer. So having that high amount of accuracy and finding there are two elements when you talk about accuracy. One is that whatever tags were associated to it should be really relevant, and also the relevant tag should be also associated to it. For example, if a tag of painting or a sunflower is not attached to Van Gogh's painting, then it's probably not very useful when you start searching for paintings with sunflowers. So it's a solution that is able to find the right tag with high amount of accuracy, which makes it critical to deploy the solution in business critical environments. Um, the next particular applications that we had enormous pleasure to work with ANP is on facial recognition. Uh, and there is a story behind this particular photograph, which Patrick shared with us in an earlier conversation, as this being one of the pivotal moments where the value of the technology became very apparent to the team in ANP. So would you mind sharing that, Patrick?
Yeah, sure. I'm actually myself a big cycling fan, and so this is an image of the Tour de France. As you can see, the Champs-Élysées, the final stage. This is the bunch of riders, and this is one of the images we used when we approached companies to test face recognition. And we trained a number of persons, and the man in the middle is probably the best Dutch rider right now, Tom Dumoulin. And I thought, well, let's just try this image. It's impossible. No system will ever recognize this man because he's wearing a helmet. He's very, very small in the image. But the facial recognition developed by Mobius found him with a very high confidence. And this was very impressive to us because there's a large number of riders in the image. He's only very small, a helmet, sunglasses. But it found him. It was Tom Dumoulin. And this was a moment where we all thought, well, this is something very special. This is something we need to have, and we need to have this system.
Excellent. Yeah, and this is a particular screenshot in how the technology has been internally being used inside ANP. So I think Patrick will be the best person to sort of explain how this is being used internally in the organization.
Yeah, sure. This is what you're looking at is our website, anpphoto.nl. This is the search result for Rutte. Rutte is the name of our prime minister. Well, if you search for Rutte, you get to the point where I discussed earlier. You usually get images of Prime Minister Rutte, but sometimes you also get images of a European summit where he may not be in the picture, but he was attending the summit. And it's in the caption, or it is, as I say, it is a political opponent of the Prime Minister referring to Prime Minister Rutte. But those are not the images you are looking for. And if you look at this search result, the very first image is a very large conference table. I'm not sure what the occasion is, but I'm sure he is somewhere far in the corner. But it's probably not what you're looking for. Now, what we did is, obviously, we trained the system to recognize our Prime Minister. And the moment you type in Rutte, you see in the top left corner a name suggestion, Mark Rutte. The moment you click this, you get actual portraits, very clear, nice portraits of Prime Minister Mark Rutte. And it works. Everything is done automatically. The system recognizes him. And especially when it's portraits, it is almost 100% correct. It happens that it's I think it's over 99% accurate. And this is important for us because research shows us that 1 in 3 searches in our image database is a client looking for a person. So this solves a very real problem for us, and this also solves a very real problem for our customers. And we showed this to a number of our major customers, and well, they were very happy with it. It saves them a lot of time, and it also results in better images for them.
And then talking a bit of industry experience. So this is 2020 is, from my perspective, a very interesting year, because it's a year where I think there are two streams of experience being merged. One is traditional industry, which is sitting over a lot of decades of knowledge, with new technologies coming in, something like AI, which is roughly, from a commercial history, it's only 3 to 4 years old. And this, in the next coming years, you will find very interesting synergies from traditional industries and new industries. And we consider our interactions as to be one of the pioneers in this particular field. So, for example, ANP was looking for two things where the technology could go really deep into the emotional content, because only a business which really knows how to handle visual content have that deep insight into this industry. And we, as a technology provider, had this very interesting synergy and very interesting collaboration with ANP to figure out how can actually technology not just become a technology, but actually become a solution provider, solve problems in real world, solve problems that matters to people, solve human problems. So this has been a fascinating experience, hopefully from both sides, in actually getting into those results. So the couple of examples that Patrick talked just before, where you have to find pictures of Prime Minister only when he is present. That's a huge. That's a one main criteria for the search experience. How can AI come and make some step changes from what was not possible before and enable search experience to actually deliver results that matters, and the relevant things. And one more quote from Patrick, which I have the pleasure to read out. Mobius met our main objectives, highest success rate, including emotional recognition, while demonstrating a clear understanding of our industry. Together, they contributed to our decision to select the computer vision technology. It's our pleasure to work with a company like ANP, who has such a large pedigree of working in press and journalism data for decades. So it's that synergy that always gets me excited, wake up every day morning with so much of excitement. To talk about a bit more on the business benefits while you integrate AI in the solution, typically there are two things that we explored together and found that having an AI solutions increases turnover and it reduces operational cost. So our technology can recognize 5,000 objects, emotions, and actions. And what that will enable ANP is to increase the number of photos that can be found in the search results, put that image that matters for someone in front of them in the easiest possible way. And also it's boosting staff productivities. Usually tagging, enriching metadata is usually a very painstaking, laborious process. And with AI coming into the mix, it allows people to sort of free up very highly talented editorial time to actually make very creative editorial decisions, rather than getting into the sort of the rut or the grunt of enriching metadata, which is not the most creative work that you can think about. Patrick, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think this is very important for us. First of all, the increased turnover. Of course, we had to make a business case before we start doing business with you, as you do in business. And it was clear to us, if we can in our business model, if we can increase turnover by 3%. By just selling images online, we already have a business case. And I think 3% higher turnover by greatly improving your metadata is very achievable. So the business case was very easy for us. And the second one is reduce operational costs. Yeah, and this is combined with the second one, boosting staff productivity. We used to have, and we still often have, photographers who have to enter their own keywords, their own captions, or editorial staff who have to add metadata or keywords, but that's not their primary job. We hire a photographer to shoot pictures, not to enter data into a system. We have editorial staff who make decisions on important journalistic issues, who can produce photo shoots, and they should not be spending time on things like adding keywords, adding captions, who is this person on the image, when a computer can do this very easily. So the benefits are very clear to us, both in projected turnover, but also in improving staff productivity.
Thanks a lot, Patrick. Yeah, so we'll go a bit more, dig a bit more deep on the future proofing the business, because right now, as an industry, there is going to be some kind of tectonic shifts which is going to happen, especially anything which is image visual heavy industries has already been succumbed to that. With the advent of digital cameras, the amount of content has really exploded in scope. That means that there should be sort of new business models and sort of new ways of future-proofing the business. And especially there are certain areas, for example, sports is one areas where we aim to sort of work very collaboratively hand in hand to give an advantage. And we'll be talking about that in the next slide. There is this exciting project which Patrick mentioned to us a few weeks about Dutch Football League. I think Patrick is the best person to sort of go through this particular project, something that we are really looking forward to sort of giving it a crack along with Patrick and his team at ANP.
Yeah, absolutely. This combines really all elements of artificial intelligence, editorial decisions for photographers, and what we aim to achieve is well, let's just say we shoot all images in all games in the Dutch Football League, including international games of the Dutch national team and also Champions League games by Dutch teams. So let's say there is a match in Amsterdam. We send 1, 2, sometimes 3 photographers. What we want to achieve is they can just shoot pictures. All pictures come to our editorial desk, and before they come to our editorial desk, we already have a basic caption, fully automated, because by facial recognition, we know who is on the image. We know this is the goalkeeper of Ajax. This is the center forward of their opponent. We already know who's on the picture. And the second one is with automatic keywording and the AI. We can train the system. Well, this is someone scoring a goal. This is a referee giving a player a yellow card. So we can train the system to recognize certain situations during a game. A third one, and this is our editorial department. We already know it's in Amsterdam. We already know the name of the stadium. So we have by 2 technologies from Mobius and 1 our own knowledge in producing editorial content. We have all the elements to greatly improve the speed and accuracy of our production. I think we will be able to have a almost fully automated caption of every single image before the image actually comes in to our editorial staff, and this will make it possible to greatly improve the speed of publishing images, and especially in sports. Speed is everything. If you are 1 minute late, the client usually takes a picture from our competitor. So this is a very clear business case, and I think this is very achievable, and I expect this to be fully operational later this year.
It's a very interesting observation to know the speed at which the industry works. Like even seconds becomes really, really critical.
Yeah,
and And again, I think that's where this new technologies, new business models, new ideas has to sort of combine and become really a fertile ground on actually disrupting what's possible with this. Uh, Yeah, and the new opportunities are endless. So, and I'm really, really excited about the football use case that ANB is attempting, and there is really, really other things that are also that we are collaborating. One is our feature on aesthetic ranking feature. So, for the audience, Mobius Labs has a feature called aesthetic ranking features, which tries to give a number between 0 to 100% on how strong a content will be. And especially in today's 24-hour news cycle, and with deadlines being really, really tight, as Patrick mentioned in the last slide, where even a second becomes very critical. We hope that our aesthetic ranking features will help in assisting ANP in that particular journey in getting that right the right picture in front of the right audience in record time. So the technology already has the ability to filter images based on composition, depth, position of subjects, etc. So an audience who is looking for this can get that results very soon. Uh, and one other topic that is will peripherally mention will be is that with the advent of social fake news, the whole field of journalism is also in a bit of a again a tectonic shift where you have to really counter some negative forces, and we hope that AI, including Mobius technology and other technologies from other providers who's building technology, will help we as a society to sort of battle against fake news propaganda and other sort of deep fake content. Maybe Patrick, do you have any thoughts on these two topics?
Um, yes, I think about the aesthetic ranking feature. I think we talked about this, that you have technology that if you train it properly, you can uh, have a ranking about the quality or at least the aesthetic quality of an image. Especially when we come back to the example I gave you before. Let's say we have a Champions League match. Um, or let's say next year is the European Championship of football, and a few matches will be played in Amsterdam. I'm sure we will take maybe 3,000 images within 90 minutes. Again, if you have AI not deciding, but let's say suggesting of these 3,000 images, I can suggest these 200 as probably the best images. Of course, the final decision will always remain with our photographer or our editorial staff, because but this will make a whole new model possible of just shooting images and sending them to our editorial staff, and then already have a suggestion with a full caption and say, well, this is probably the best image, but here are other images. It will not only improve speed, but probably also improve quality, and it will have our staff doing the things they're good at, which is not necessarily entering data, but evaluating images, and evaluating the actual moment of an important news event, and this will improve our journalism.
Excellent, Patrick. Yeah, I think that sort of concludes the seminar part of this particular webinar. But I just have to first apologize to all the viewers that I didn't introduce both of us formally during this session. So how it goes will be like let me sort of introduce both of us in person. Then we'll open up the floor for questions, and we'll like to sort of hear thoughts from the audience about various aspects that was discussed, or any new aspects that you might want to discuss here. So let me introduce me. My name is Apu. I'm the CEO of Mobius Labs. And since you heard a lot about the company, I don't want to reintroduce. So maybe Patrick, can you say a line about you?
Yeah, I'm Patrick. I'm product manager photo at ANP, and my primary responsibility is everything regarding ANP photo.nl and the development of the image bank.
Thanks a lot. So, and now it's a formal Q&A. So we're really sort of hoping opening up the floor for the Q&A session. So there is already a question by Suki Haya. So for people who wants to ask Q&A, can write into the Q&A board in Zoom. And the question by Suki Hire is, can this technology be applied to moving pictures, that is video content? And the answer is absolutely yes. So we have a technology that is that works for videos and any form of visual content. So in future, also AR, VR kind of modality also. We are already working with various other sort of commercial partners in essentially working with video content. Maybe Patrick, do you want to also maybe talk about the importance of video in journalism space, how you see this field moving into videos and other forms of content?
Yeah, I think we had discussions about using it in video, and I'm confident it can be used. We ANP don't actually produce that much video content. We do represent some video content, but I have to be honest, our primary focus at ANP is definitely photo. But absolutely. I mean, I will defer to you, Apu, about if it can be applied to moving pictures like video, but I'm sure the answer is yes, it absolutely can.
So, yeah. So, if there is any questions, there's a Q&A panel in Slack, in Zoom. Please do write your questions over there. So maybe while we look for while the audience have a chance to ask questions, maybe I have a question to you, Patrick, in terms of what do you think are the apart from the things that we discussed, is maybe one or two of the most prominent opportunities that journalism can actually get using technologies like AI. Is it on the speed at which you can deliver? Is it on the sort of the curatorial sort of process? And where do you think that the maximum benefit can come?
Well, my expertise is photo and photography, and again, it will. I'm not sure what the English term is, but unburden journalists to the maximum extent. They can truly focus on being a journalist, and everything that is not a core part of the job can be done by can be done by AI. But it can also, what I truly expect that can happen if we have a very large amount of data, which we have with 100 million images and that many images coming in, is doing quantitative analysis using AI. Let's say they're finding all the images of someone, or just analyzing data and coming up with and coming up with questions, or even answering journalistic questions. Very small example is we scan a very large number of images, and suddenly I found images of an older man of Amsterdam in a very old image, and I had no idea. I had no idea she was on the image. But that can be very relevant, and this is without AI we would never have found this image. This is the way I think AI can help. It can help journalism, but of course I think the main thing is unburdening journalists and just let them focus on doing their job.
Thanks. We have a question from David Hickney. With regards to video, does your technology currently allow for fully automated captioning in terms of not just objects, but emotions and actions? To answer David's questions, currently the technology allows us to detect emotions and actions. Uh, we are still working on a fully automated captioning thing. So our keywords already have informations about emotions and actions, but writing a sentence is something that we are still working. It's a feature that we have in development at this moment. Uh, there's a question from Simon Bridger. It's a question to Patrick. How do you successfully measure the return on capital expenditure for the services into the additional revenue generated by clients? Would love to know a basic return on investment if it is possible.
Well, this is, of course, not 100% possible because we decided to invest in this technology, and then the coronavirus came along. So earlier I talked about a 3% increase in revenue from our website, and then we have a business case. But of course, many other things happen in the world than this. So it's very difficult to be very exact from the moment we use this technology. We achieve this 3 or 4%. But there are, I think, two ways. First of all, from the business side. From the business side, two ways to look at this. We used to have people in our office just entering this data, and it sounds very crude, but we don't employ those people anymore. You know, it's just, and they used to be able to do 1,000 images a day, and this technology can do 100,000 images every day without an increase in investment. I mean, it scales very well. So this is it doesn't increase revenue, but the business case is really already there. And regarding increasing revenue, we have two main ways of making our money. One is by a subscription service, and the other one, the other 50% is we just sell images online, and every download is a sale. And the second one is where I definitely expect an increase in revenue. But again, it's very difficult to pinpoint that you sell an image because of this technology, because there are a lot more factors in the world than just AI. But I am absolutely confident that the business model is actually there.
Maybe a related question in that lines. Did you ever face issues while maintaining a backlog, and is there capacity problems where you couldn't actually handle your backlog and could not process certain images?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say during the Olympic Games, we have a far higher production. We have sometimes thousands of images every day, and we just and a number. I mean, if it all has to be done by hand, if you have twice as many images, you need twice as many people. But you can't just hire more people just for the Olympic Games. So then it would just take days or sometimes weeks before all images were properly keyworded, captions, or all the persons were entered. So yeah, it would take a very long time, and now it's done almost instantaneously. And also it scales. You know, if there are 3 Olympic Games at the same time, for us it doesn't matter.
The next question is from Christiana. I have already been testing your AI for a stock agency. Our main objection was that we have a big series with similar content but could not be keyword consistently due to different angles. Do you have a solution for this by then? Yes, we absolutely have a solution by this. So our sort of models are being updated and sort of improved based on our client feedback that we get from people like you. So we'll be very much happy to sort of re-engage and sort of dig a bit more deeper here. The next question is, why not use an API service for a larger supplier? So that's to you, Patrick.
Well, we talk to other suppliers, including the biggest one in the world called Google. Um, but more, but we talk to a lot more companies that offer similar services, including a few in the Netherlands. But I think the most important reason we chose Mobius is because our experience was that Mobius is not just a tech company. Of course, they are a tech company, but they have a very strong background in photography and journalism. And I think this is, with Mobius, it was clear to us that they understand our business. So it's not just a service they provide. You can really, let's just say, when we talk to Google, the first thing they wanted was our data. And that's for us, that's the end of the discussion. And when we talk to Mobius, the first thing they said, well, your data is yours. Well, that's a very different approach. So yes, we can definitely get an API from a larger provider, but for several reasons, we prefer to work with at this moment, smaller company that truly understands our business.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point, and some of the things that we in Mobius has in our DNA is that we don't track our clients' data, and I feel that for a new world, this is really important, where you don't make the clients our products. So data privacy is something that we take really, really seriously. Uh, then Michael has a question to you, Patrick. Did you train the system to return a tag set especially relevant for ANP, or do you use some kind of standard set that was already available by Mobius?
Well, both really. When it comes to the face recognition, we already had a very, very large set of faces, and we used the Mobius system to train the available data. So that was our own set, but the second one about keywording, we both used a large set of keywords provided by Mobius in Dutch, by the way. It was all translated, but we are also able to add keywords ourselves and train the system to recognize specific situations. And again, when we train a system to recognize a red card, or to train that a cat is a cat, although the system will of course already recognize a cat. But let's say we say this is a cat, then it is our own tag. But it remains our tag. I mean, the access to data and the privacy aspect of everything is very important to us. We want our data to remain our data, and when a competitor approaches Mobius, which is of course their full right to do, I don't want them to sell all our knowledge to our competitor, and this is again one of the main reasons we chose Mobius.
There's a question to me: what are the possibilities to influence, customize the tag set that can be returned for an image or video by Mobius? So yeah, so customizability is something, again, a key feature that we have, because it's a bit philosophical how we think about it. Because to sort of piggyback on what Patrick was mentioned, we as a business, or we as an individual, has two components. One is we operate in a sort of a shared environment, shared culture. A cat is a cat, whether you ask someone in India or someone in US or someone in Europe, a cat is a cat. But there are certain fine elements where you change, in the sense that how we define things like spirituality or colors, or there are things that actually change from business to business. And that's where the customizability becomes really, really important, where you as a business or as an individual can take our software and can customize it for your own use case, because you know your use case better. You are the masters in your field. So the software is a tool for you to sort of adapt to that particular use case. So for example, we were working with a couple of clients who want to understand, say, poverty, and climate change and spiritualities, and even how people view images of coronavirus pandemics. And what we find is that we have a common understanding and an individual understanding about this. And the tool allows you to customize, specify it for your understanding of that particular tag or keyword. And also retain there are certain things which are common, which you can use from the common models. Um, So David has a question on the sort of how this project came out. How does a project such as the ANP collaboration comes about? Does Mobius carried out small scale pilots first to determine proof of concept? So Patrick, do you want to, means I can maybe lead and then you can follow on that. So I think we met first in a trade fair in Amsterdam, and then usually we like to sort of gives a sort of work with the problem that our clients are solving, have a conversation on that, and then look for whether it's actually solving this. So maybe Patrick, can you talk about the collaboration, how the genesis and how it has progressed so far?
Yeah, we first started to look for face recognition, and we were actually talking to more companies about this, and then we just, let's try it out. We defined a set of images, and Mobius was willing to use their technology because I think they were confident enough that they would come out on top, and we just tried it, and we tried the same data set with a few companies, and I have to say that it was a very pleasant cooperation, and the results were far better than anyone else we tried. So I think Apu, you said in the beginning, we had a 94% success rate with the first set of, I think it was 300 persons or something, or 300 images, which was far better than anyone else. And that was even before we actually fully trained the system. So yes, we did a small collaboration, a test first. We did exactly the same test with other companies, and only then did we decide to actually go forward.
So Simon has an odd question. Can you train the system to recognize Formula One drivers in their cars with crash helmets on? So it's an interesting question. Means if you as humans is able to recognize Michael Schumacher with Kimi Räikkönen or Lewis Hamilton's, then theoretically the system should be able to do it. But definitely we'll go and play around with this and give you a more factual answer later on about this. But what our experience so far is, for the system to recognize it is very much is similar to our visual system. So if there is a visual signature which determines that helmet shape, so for example, if there are two people, they are both Ferrari drivers and they have the same crash helmet with the same numbers, then it's kind of not a fair ask for the system. But if you are two different, say if you're a McLaren and a Ferrari driver, and it will be able to pick up on cues regarding the helmet colors, etc., and be able to sort of recognize these differences. Yeah, and it's also an interesting sort of going back into what Patrick mentioned, how in Tour de France it was able to recognize the cyclist even with him being having a helmet and shades. It's quite impressive. So for someone like me who has historically trained these machine learning systems, even when we see the results, we are a bit amazed by what the technology can do. So it's always we are going from one opportunity to the other, and it's always interesting to look forward for what the system can do in the next couple of years. So I think that covers most of the questions that people have had on for us. So I would like to first of all thank Patrick for spending the time with us, but more importantly, for the amazing collaboration that we are having
Sure.
Always a pleasure to work with you and everyone at ANP. So we at Mobius is incredibly privileged for this particular relationship.
Sure.
Uh, so with that, I wish thank everyone who attended this webinar. It was great fun. We'll be doing more of these series, so we really look forward for all of your inputs. You can always email us, connect us in LinkedIn, follow us on Twitter, and give us a shout. Very happy to engage, and look forward for hearing from each one of you who have been here. So, thanks a lot, everyone.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.